Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and the 2025 Superman film is now filming in Cleveland, giving us looks at the cast and a crisis at the offices of the Daily Planet. While we still don't really know the plot of this film, there are some fascinating details hidden in the design of Superman's suit and other Easter eggs concealed all over the set, visible in plain sight in the Cleveland area. Now, set photos like this can sometimes be seen as spoilers, but since director James Gunn is waving at these cameras, I think we're okay to talk about the little we do see, because it all bodes really well as we look ahead to this film. In the first footage we might see in a matter of weeks at San Diego Comic-Con. But I understand if you think set photos like this are too spoilery, you don't have to watch this video, I just want to give you a heads up. Okay, so this imagery that we've been seeing shows David Cornsweet suited up as Superman and as Clark Kent. But as Superman, he teams up with Michael Holt, Mr. Terrific, played in this movie by Eddie Gathegi, who played the short-lived Darwin in X-Men First Class. It seems like this is part of a joint rescue mission to save the staff of the Daily Planet. We got a glimpse of Superman's new suit in this film in the official photo released by James Gunn a few months back when Superman was putting on his boots, while in the background outside the window Metropolis was being attacked by Brainiac, we think. These images give us a better sense of how Cornsweet will look in the suit and how it really fits him in movement. These images were taken by photographers in the Cleveland area and posted to the Just Jared site. One batch of photos shows Superman with Mr. Terrific, another shows him with Lois Lane, played by Rachel Brosnahan in this movie. This image of Superman and Mr. Terrific looking up at the facade of the Daily Planet building after the attack was taken by Joshua Gunter of Cleveland.com. So this Superman suit in the film is actually a combination of several different designs from throughout the history of the Man of Steel. These colors are bright blue, bright red, and bright yellow, and the classic red trunks are back, reflecting the classic Superman look. These red trunks were done away with in the New 52 redesign, and of course the Zack Snyder Henry Cavill suit in the DCEU. But there's nothing wrong with these red trunks, and it's really part of what we love about Superman. But in many ways, this suit does reflect the New 52 redesign from 2011. It has a high collar that reaches up the neck and lines in the shoulder and collarbone regions that also come from that design. That suit also had a belt, and on the back of that suit's cape was a black emblem. This suit has a yellow emblem on the back, which reflects the All-Star Superman from 2005, drawn by Frank Quitely and the storyline written by Grant Morrison. This was a comic cover shared by James Gunn when he announced his film as Superman Legacy back in January 2023. But we have since learned that Gunn is not pulling inspiration from the plot of that story, but rather just from the vibe and the tone of the character from this era, as a Kansas farm boy balancing his ties to Earth with his ancestry and legacy from Krypton. But let's talk about the chest emblem as we see it designed here. It has a yellow border around the very outside of it, which comes originally from the 1940s Max Fleischer animated design, which also inspired the yellow border on the emblem from Earth 1. And the S of this logo is mostly formed by just one thick diagonal line, which comes from the design of the S in 1996's Kingdom Come. But one thing you may notice about this suit is that it doesn't really try to show off David Cornsweet's musculature. Like, it doesn't really pop out the biceps or cling to the abs in a way to make them super obvious. But that seems to be the point of this design. Cornsweet gained a ton of muscle mass for this role, and he does look properly bulky here, but I think the idea is that Superman does not have to be a visibly shredded fitness model. It's the same sentiment that informed Christopher Reeve's look in the Richard Donner 1978 Superman the movie. Reeve was also in peak physical condition for the role, but the point of the suit is that the colors and the emblems speak for themselves. And I'm going to go into more in why I think they're doing the suit this way at the end of this video. But more interestingly, I think, than the suit is we get a glimpse of David Cornsweet's take on Clark Kent. This photo taken by Cleveland photographer Eric Drost. Clark Kent wears round glasses and has a messy mop of hair on his head. And he wears an ill-fitting suit that makes him look deceptively small and clumsy. It's the same idea that we saw when Christopher Reeve played Superman and Clark Kent in 1978. It's really this extraterrestrial's caricature of humanity, and it's arguably the most interesting aspect of the character to watch. I believe David Cornsweet was cast not just because he embodies that American Boy Scout charm of a Midwestern farm boy, but really because, like Christopher Reeve, he is a classically trained actor from Juilliard who brings physical comedy and even clowning to the performance. Like, look at this set video where you can see how chaotic and awkward he's playing Clark Kent as he bumps into everyone on the street, but notice how he's deliberately walking on the right side of the street when it's really custom to walk on the left side, like, you know, street traffic in America. And he's doing this intentionally to look as clumsy as possible for everyone who's in the vicinity of the Daily Planet building. Yet, when he approaches a baby carriage, he's like, you know what? I'm okay not veering into that baby carriage because mission accomplished. I've been sufficiently awkward to fool everyone outside of my workplace. And I think this might be the most effective disguise of any live action Superman that we've seen since Christopher Reeve. And while his curly bangs seem plentiful here, but with nowhere to sweep them to when he becomes Superman, it would explain why there would be one stubborn curl dropping over his forehead. And I just love that detail. And you'll notice clutched in his hand is a Daily Planet newspaper. And we actually get a better look at this front page in this other set photo of newspaper dispensers for the Daily Planet and the Metropolis Eagle, photos that were taken by photographer Larry Pompeo. So the Metropolis Eagle is a rival newspaper to the Daily Planet in the comics. Let's start with this front page from the Daily Planet. Superman stops MTA rail from running off the tracks. The photo shows Superman stopping a speeding train, a nod to artwork from the Superman for All Seasons. And if you look closely, the photo credit is Jimmy Olsen, but the article is written by Clark Kent himself. And he writes, quote, Metropolis hero Superman blazed into the front of the runaway train in an impressive display of superhuman strength and bravery. Superman slowed the train to a halt. Okay, Clark, take it easy with the sensationalism there, bud. Now the Metropolis Eagle front page reports Superman saves 20 after downtown building collapse. It's gonna be funny if that downtown building was a Daily Planet building, but the rival newspaper, the Metropolis Eagle, doesn't want to single out their rivals in print. But the sub-headline reads, no fatalities in what could have been a tragic outcome. And a nearby headline reads, questions remain as to cause of incident. The teaser headlines in the upper left corner have some fun Easter eggs. Chacos seeks factory workers. Chacos are a brand of cookies in the DC Comics beloved by Martian Manhunter. And then Lex Luthor won the Arcane Genius Award, a reference to Anton Arcane, the genius supervillain archenemy to Swamp Thing. And these photos from Eric Drost and Joshua Gunter show quite a bit of the attack on the Daily Planet building and the rescue mission by Superman and Mr. Terrific. Now, Mr. Terrific is Michael Holt, a super genius with what he calls a natural aptitude for having natural aptitudes. And he's just known for just being a Renaissance man and prodigy, and his self-invented gadgetry known as T-spheres that kind of hover around him. And his look is to have this T on his face and this sweet jacket bearing Terrific on the back and Fair Play on the sleeve. He was played by friend of the channel Echo Kellum in the CW Arrowverse continuity. Now we know this is the Daily Planet building because these photos show the front entrance with this awesome spinning Daily Planet globe over the door that even glows like a lantern at nighttime. And much of Mr. Terrific's sphere tech will likely be added in post-production, but he seems to be using a T-sphere ship to rescue employees at the Daily Planet. The film's production is using a practical stand-in for now with a big T on the side, but I think it's just part of the T-sphere ship that has a hatch for characters to emerge out of, and the finished look will be completed later with CGI. Now, yes, Superman can fly and probably could have rescued all these people just by himself, and he wouldn't have needed Mr. Terrific's help here, but think about it. Maybe he was too surrounded by co-workers as Clark Kent, and he needed to maintain his cover by letting a different superhero save them through a different means, and then, you know, maybe Superman showed up after it was all over, and there was a debate over which superhero should get all the credit for this rescue. Now, these photos include the Daily Planet staff exiting the T-sphere ship one by one, looking dazed. We see Gunter's photo of Lois Lane, and we should note that Lois is wearing the purple top that Lois Lane is often seen wearing in the 1996 Superman the Animated Series. And then Drost's photos of Wendell Pierce as Daily Planet Editor-in-Chief Perry White, followed by Skylar Gisondo as photographer Jimmy Olsen, followed by SNL's Beck Bennett as Daily Planet reporter Steve Lombard, who is based on the character Ted Baxter in the Mary Tyler Moore Show originally, but was also based on the physique of football player Joe Namath, which explains Beck Bennett's beefy mustached sports dad look. Next, we see Michaela Hoover as Daily Planet gossip columnist Kat Grant, followed by Christopher McDonald as Daily Planet reporter Ron Troop. Nicholas Hoult has also been spotted on set as Lex Luthor, and then Sarah Sampaio as Eve Teskmacher, Lex Luthor's personal assistant. Folks in Cleveland also noticed the crew changing some street signs in the area to pay homage to DC Comics writers like Jim Lee, Grant Morrison, Mark Waid, and Jeff Loeb. So James Gunn seems to be directing this 2025 Superman film in a way that embraces the full history and legacy and iconography of the comics and the animated history, and of course Richard Donner's original Superman film. Really the whole reason we have superhero cinema today. He wants this Superman to be something that viewers of all generations can associate when they think of Superman. And that's just going to be really important as the first film of the DCU, the one that sets a standard for the DCU going forward. And this might just be me opining based on Disney head Bob Iger's comments last November about prioritizing entertainment over messaging. But across the industry, there seems to be a desire to go back to formula for major IP films that are going to cost them over $200 million to make. Like when Warner Brothers was looking for its next Christopher Nolan, they ended up going with Zack Snyder's pitch that Superman and Batman could start in the nihilistic Elseworld of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. And while that was really cool and worked on its own, you could argue, there is so much more to the character of Superman than just that one particular graphic novel. And I think the studio now wants a safer bet with an undeniably iconic Superman story that reminds us all of the Richard Donner, Christopher Reeve era. I just think when you see Hugh Jackman's Wolverine returning in a classic yellow and blue suit, and the Fantastic Four returning in classic blue and white suits, And Superman in this classic red, yellow, and blue suit with something to love from all eras of the character. This brightness in the color palette is not a coincidence, folks. It's these studios recognizing that maybe the best path for a superhero IP has already been laid out for them in the decades of comics and animation and past successful film adaptations. And they don't need to be different or reinvent the wheel. The wheel is good on its own. And then when it comes to Superman, I think James Gunn understands is that many of us have just been longing to simply believe a man can fly. Not expect that he must fly and fly a particular way, but just believe again. One last image I wanted to put here at the end because I think it actually could be a bit spoilery, so feel free to stop watching.
Nope. Thank you for the warning, and I'm out.